say the hardest part about grief is that the world doesn't stop spinning just because yours did. Thank you for tuning in to listen to our story. Please subscribe to our channel, comment, like, and share with your loved ones. I learned that on a Tuesday morning in a cold hospital waiting room, clutching my phone like it could change the news I'd just been given. My husband, James, was gone, taken by a drunk driver who ran a red light 2 blocks from our house. He was so close to home. Why now? Why me? I sobbed. Just like that, everything we'd built together unraveled. 1 minute, I was folding laundry while our youngest, baby Jordan, gurgled in his bouncer. And the next, I was a widow with 4 children and no clear path forward. Before the accident, life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. James and I had married young. He was my high school sweetheart, the kind of man who could make you laugh even when bills were overdue and the baby had colic. We didn't have much, but we had love and faith. That was enough. He worked construction, always coming home with stories and sawdust on his boots. I stayed home with the kids, always telling myself I'd go back to school one day. That one day never came. Not until I was forced to reinvent my entire world. The morning James died started like any other. I made oatmeal, braided my daughter's hair, kissed James goodbye as he headed out early for a site job. I didn't know it would be the last time I'd see him alive. When the police came, I thought maybe they were lost or at the wrong house. But then I saw their faces and heard their words that broke my heart in many places. The next weeks were a blur. Funeral arrangements, casseroles from neighbors, and my children asking when Daddy was coming back. I remember the way my son Elijah refused to take off the Batman cape James had given him. He wore it to the funeral. I didn't stop him. Reality came in waves. And when the funeral was over and everyone went back to their lives, I was left to figure out how to go on with mine. There was no manual or book to guide me through this phase, and so I struggled, trying so hard to be there for my kids. I heard about a grief support group, and there I met Clarice at the community center. She had a laugh like thunder and eyes that didn't miss a thing. I didn't want to talk. She made me. One evening after group, she said, "So what's next for you?" I shrugged, keeping my kids alive. That's about all I've got in me. You ever think about going back to school? I laughed, actually laughed. Clarice, I dropped out in the 10th grade. I've got 4 kids and crow's feet. I think that ship has sailed. She looked me dead in the eye. It hasn't. You're still breathing. That means there's more. She didn't say it once. She said it every week, every time I wanted to give up. Eventually, her words started sticking. One night, after I put the kids to bed, I pulled out an old notebook and started listing the dreams I'd buried. Law school was at the top. I made a decision to go for it, one item at a time. Getting my GED was harder than I imagined. I had to relearn algebra while nursing a baby and refereeing 2 toddlers. I studied after midnight, reading textbooks by the glow of the kitchen light while the house slept. There were days I doubted myself, like when I failed the math section the first time. But Clarice reminded me, "You're not doing this to be perfect. You're doing it to grow." Her words of encouragement were like fire to my spirit. And my kids, I had to do this and not quit. When I finally passed, I cried. It wasn't just a test. It was proof that I could begin again. Community college came next. Then the LSAT. Each step was filled with fear, but also purpose. Law school felt like entering another universe. The first day, I walked in with a backpack from Walmart, a second-hand laptop, and a heart pounding so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. Most of my classmates were at least a decade younger, full of confidence and expensive coffee. I sat quietly in the back, more aware of my mom jeans than my reading material. I had to leave early that first week because Jordan spiked a fever. Another day, I took a quiz with spit up on my shirt because I hadn't noticed it in the morning chaos. But I stayed. I kept showing up. Each time I understood a case brief, I celebrated. Each time I didn't cry in class, I considered it a win. When I got my first B+ on a paper, I taped it to the refrigerator next to the kids' drawings. See, I told them, Mommy's learning too. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. Bills piled up. The car broke down twice. There were nights I had to choose between studying and sleeping. More than once, I broke down in the shower, muffling my sobs in a towel so the kids wouldn't hear. Clarice called me every Sunday. You're doing it, she'd say. Don't you dare downplay this. I'd nod, tears in my eyes. I just want to make James proud. You already are. There was a night during my second year that nearly broke me. I'd just come home from a part-time shift at the local diner because scholarships didn't cover groceries and found the lights off. The power had been cut. Again, I lit candles and fed the kids cereal. I told them it was a special picnic night. We all huddled together under one blanket, watching the shadows flicker on the walls. As they fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling and whispered, why am I doing this? The answer came to me in their tiny snores and the rise and fall of their breathing. Because they're watching. Because quitting is not an option. Because James once said, babe, if anyone could argue their way into the White House, it's you. Because Clarice believed in me, even when I didn't. Because deep down, under the grief and doubt and exhaustion, I believed in me too. By the final year, I stopped hiding the fact that I was a mother. I started raising my hand more. I brought my youngest to class once when the sitter canceled, and my professor, an intimidating woman who had never cracked a smile, offered to hold him for the first 10 minutes of her lecture. My classmates started asking me for advice. Some admitted they looked up to me. One day, I found a sticky note on my locker. It read, you make me believe I can do hard things too. I cried in the hallway. Graduation was approaching. I could almost see the finish line, but I didn't let myself get too excited. Life had taught me not to count victories before they came. Still, I started preparing. I let the kids pick out my graduation dress. My daughter insisted it had to be red, because red means strong. The night before graduation, I laid out our clothes. I ran through my speech in my head over and over. I didn't sleep. My stomach flipped all night like it couldn't believe we'd made it either. And then it happened. Graduation morning, standing on that stage, my name was called. Janelle Rose Williams. The auditorium erupted. My kids screamed. Clarice waved a handmade sign with glitter that got all over everything. I felt James in that moment. I saw him in Elijah's grin, in my daughter's teary eyes, in the way baby Jordan clapped without knowing why. I wasn't just walking for me. I was walking for every woman who thought her dreams expired after loss, for every mother who doubted if she still had it in her, for every voice that had been told, "You can't." The ceremony ended, but I lingered in my cap and gown, soaking in every second. People hugged me, smiled at me, and took photos with me. It felt like a dream, a good one. I didn't want to wake up, but the truth is, the applause fades fast. The next morning, I was back to wiping yogurt off the table, separating squabbling twins, and trying to fix a leak in the bathroom faucet. The kids still needed me. Life didn't stop to celebrate. I remember sitting on the porch that evening, holding a mug of lukewarm tea, staring at the horizon. I had my degree. I was a lawyer on paper, but now came the bar exam, and job interviews, and another mountain to climb. I felt fear creeping in again, the kind that whispered, "Who do you think you are?" But this time, I had an answer. I'm the woman who didn't quit. Studying for the bar exam was a beast of its own. I thought law school was tough, but this was a war. I created a system. Wake at 5 a.m., study before the kids woke up, then get them ready, drop them at school, work a short shift at the diner, come home, study while cooking, study while folding laundry, study until I passed out. There were flashcards taped to the fridge, case summaries in the bathroom, and post-it notes in my purse. My oldest quizzed me on torts while brushing his teeth. I failed the first mock exam. I almost gave up. Clarice showed up that night with soup, a bottle of ginger ale, and a stern face. "You've come too far to back out now," she said, setting her hands on her hips. "You didn't climb Mount Everest to camp halfway down the mountain. Keep going." I did, and when the exam day came, I walked in with trembling hands, but a steady heart. I left everything on the table. I prayed before, during, and after. 6 weeks later, I got the email. "Congratulations, you passed the bar." I screamed so loudly, the neighbors came running. They joined me to celebrate. And again, I cried tears of joy. My first real interview was at a small firm that focused on family law fitting. Considering everything I'd been through, the senior partner, a gray-haired woman named Miss DeWitt, looked me straight in the eyes and asked, "Why law? Why now?" I didn't give her the polished, rehearsed answer. I said, "Because I lost everything and still had to keep going. Because I know what it's like to not afford legal help. Because I'm a single mom of 4 who fought for a seat at this table. And I'm here to help others fight too." She didn't speak for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "We need people like you." She hired me on the spot. I started working with women like me, women whose lives were turned upside down, women who were trying to protect their children, escape dangerous situations, or rebuild after loss. I didn't just understand the legal side. I understood the emotional one. I knew what it was to feel like you had nothing left, but still move forward. And every time a client cried, or a case was won, or a woman walked out stronger than she came in, I felt it in my soul. I was living proof that healing is possible. One day, while I was prepping for court, Elijah walked in with a sheet of paper. It was a school project. He'd drawn a picture of me in a cape. He wrote underneath, "My hero is my mom. She never gave up." I cried harder than I did on graduation day. I never thought I'd love again. James was my first and only. The kind of love you wrap your youth around. I thought I'd buried that part of me with him, but time has a way of softening pain, making room for light to slip in through the cracks. I met Derek at a legal aid conference. He was quiet, observant, kind. He asked questions no one else did, not just about law, but about my life. He didn't run when I told him I had 4 kids. He made space for them, slowly, respectfully. He told me, "I don't want to replace anyone. I just want to walk beside you." We took things slow. The kids liked him. Even Jordan started calling him Coach D after he helped him with his basketball moves in the backyard. The day Derek proposed, he did it with all 4 kids beside him, each holding a card that said, "Will you marry him for us?" I said yes, with tears running down my face. Now I speak at high schools. I go back to that community center where I met Clarice, and I tell other moms, it's never too late. Clarice is still my best friend. She's also Jordan's godmother. She jokes that when I get my first judge appointment, she wants her own parking spot. I keep a photo of James in my office beside my law degree. He was the first one to believe in me. I'm living a life he'd be proud of. A life I fought tooth and nail to build. Not perfect, not easy, but full and honest and mine. Please like, follow, and share for more inspiring stories.